Have you ever reached for something on a high shelf and felt a tremor of weakness in your arm you didn't have a few years ago? Or perhaps you've hesitated before picking up a grandchild, worried that your strength just isn't what it used to be. Maybe you even caught yourself saying, "Well, I guess this is just part of getting older." If any of that sounds familiar, I want you to listen very closely. Because today, we're not just going to talk about muscle loss. We're going to challenge that entire way of thinking. You see, there's a shocking reality that most people aren't aware of. The National Institute on Aging reports that after the age of 30, the average person can lose between 3 to 8% of their muscle mass every single decade, and that rate often accelerates dramatically after age 60. This isn't just about how you look in the mirror. This process, known as sarcopenia, is a primary driver of functional decline, a major risk factor for dangerous falls, and one of the biggest thieves of our independence as we age. For years, we thought this was simply a story about our muscles getting older and weaker. But what if I told you that was only half the story? What if the key to reversing this decline wasn't just in your biceps or your legs, but deep inside your brain? My name is Dr. Callahan, and as a neurologist who has spent decades studying the intricate connection between the brain and the body, I'm here to share what I believe is one of the most important breakthroughs in our understanding of healthy aging. The title of this video makes a bold claim. This brain-body exercise reverses decades of muscle loss. It sounds like a headline, and I want to address that directly. We're not talking about a time machine. We can't literally make your muscles 25 years old again. But what we can do, and what the science now overwhelmingly supports, is functionally reverse the effects of decades of decline. We can rebuild strength, improve balance, and restore a level of confidence and capability that you may have thought was lost forever. In this deep dive, we're going to pull back the curtain on why this happens. We'll start by uncovering the neurological why behind muscle loss. It's a story of communication breakdown between your brain and your body. Then, I will introduce you to the concept of a true brain-body exercise, a method that retrains this vital connection. We'll also explore how to build real-world functional power, and it might be different from what you've heard at the gym. We'll discuss the incredible, lifelong power of your brain to adapt, a process called neuroplasticity, and how to fuel this entire system with the right nutrition. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, we will talk directly about the fear of getting started, the fear of injury, the fear of falling, and give you a safe, practical roadmap to begin this journey today. This isn't about becoming a bodybuilder. It's about being able to lift your groceries, play with your grandkids, and live a strong, independent life on your own terms. And just a quick but important reminder before we dive in. While I am a neurologist, this video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for personalized medical advice from your own doctor. Always consult with a healthcare professional before beginning any new exercise or nutrition program, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your health is your most precious asset, and your doctor is your partner in protecting it. So, let's begin with the question that changes everything. Why do we truly get weaker as we age? For the longest time, the culprit was thought to be the muscle fiber itself. We pictured it just withering away from disuse. And while that's part of it, it's like blaming the light bulb for going out, when the real problem is in the wiring and the light switch. The real story, the one that holds the key to reversal, begins in your nervous system. Imagine your brain as the command center, and your muscles are the troops on the ground. To get a muscle to contract, your brain has to send an electrical signal down your spinal cord, out through a nerve, to something called a motor unit. A motor unit is made up of a single nerve cell and all the muscle fibers it controls. Think of it like a single foreman on a construction site who is in charge of a specific crew of workers. When you're young, you have a vast number of these well-organized motor units. Command Center sends an order, and thousands of foremen instantly get their crews to work in perfect synchrony. The result is a strong, smooth, and coordinated movement. But as we age, a neurological decline begins. A crucial study published in the journal Current Opinion in Clinical Nutrition and Metabolic Care details this process. We start to lose these motor units. Some of the foremen, so to speak, retire and are not replaced. The electrical signals from the brain can also become less powerful and less precise. It's like the radio signal from Command Center is getting staticky. The result? Even if the muscle fibers themselves, the workers, are still capable, there are fewer foremen to direct them and the orders are less clear. This leads to what we experience as weakness, slower reaction times, and a loss of fine motor control. So, the frustrating feeling of your body not responding the way you want it to isn't just your muscles failing you. It's often a communication breakdown that starts in the brain. This is a critical distinction because if the problem is neurological, then the solution must be neurological too. We can't just lift weights and hope for the best. We have to actively and intentionally retrain the entire command and control system. This brings us to the very heart of our conversation today, the brain-body exercise. This isn't one single magic movement, but rather a category of exercises designed specifically to improve the communication between your brain and your muscles. The scientific term for this internal sense of your body's position in space is proprioception. Think of it as your body's own internal GPS. It's the sense that allows you to touch your nose with your eyes closed, or walk up a flight of stairs without staring at your feet for every single step. Your brain is constantly receiving millions of data points from tiny sensors in your muscles, tendons, and joints, telling it exactly where every part of your body is and how it's moving. As we age, and especially if we become more sedentary, this GPS system can become less accurate. The signal gets fuzzy. This is a huge reason why the risk of falling increases. Your brain isn't getting a clear, real-time map of where your body is, making it harder to correct your balance when you stumble. So a core brain-body exercise is any movement that challenges and therefore retrains your proprioception. The simplest and most powerful example is the single leg stand. It sounds almost too easy, but its benefits are profound. I want you to try it, safely. Stand next to a sturdy chair or a countertop you can hold on to for support. Shift your weight onto one leg and slowly lift the other foot just an inch or two off the ground. Your goal is to hold this position. The first thing you'll notice is that your ankle and foot are making dozens of tiny, rapid adjustments. You'll feel your calf, your thigh, and even your core muscles firing in ways you don't in normal standing. What is happening in that moment? Your brain is getting a massive flood of high-definition data from all those sensors in your standing leg. It's being forced to process that information in real time and send back immediate, precise instructions to all those little stabilizing muscles. You are actively sharpening your internal GPS. You are forcing the brain and the nerves to communicate more efficiently. Start by trying to hold for 10 to 15 seconds, using the chair for support as much as you need. As you get better, you can try to let go of the chair for a second or two at a time. Eventually, you can aim for 30 seconds without support. Then, you can make it even more challenging by closing your eyes for a brief moment, which forces your brain to rely entirely on proprioception without any visual input. Incorporating just a few minutes of this type of balance and awareness training into your daily routine, perhaps while you're brushing your teeth or waiting for the kettle to boil, is one of the most effective things you can do to prevent falls and reestablish that foundational brain-body link. Now that we understand the importance of waking up the communication lines with proprioceptive work, let's talk about building raw strength. And here, we encounter a popular idea that needs a bit of clarification: the mind-muscle connection. Many of us have been told in fitness magazines or by trainers to really focus internally on the muscle we're working. You know, when you're doing a bicep curl, you're told to squeeze the bicep and feel the burn. And for isolating and growing a specific muscle, especially in a bodybuilding context, there's value to this internal focus. It can help activate that muscle more effectively. However, when our goal is to build functional, real-world strength, the kind of strength that helps you get out of a deep chair, lift a heavy bag of soil in the garden, or catch yourself from a stumble, research suggests a different approach is often superior. This is the concept of an external focus of attention. A fascinating review published in Frontiers in Sports and Active Living compiled evidence from numerous studies and found a consistent pattern. Focusing on an external goal or the effect you're having on your environment, rather than on your own body parts, leads to more effective, more powerful, and more efficient movement. Let's take the single most important exercise for functional aging: the squat. The internal focus approach would be to think, okay, I need to squeeze my glutes, engage my quads, keep my core tight. This can lead to a stiff, robotic movement. The external focus approach changes the game entirely. Instead of focusing on your muscles, you focus on the task. A powerful cue is to think, I am going to push the floor away from me as hard as I can. Another is to imagine you are sitting down into a chair that's just a little too far behind you, and then standing up by driving your head towards the ceiling. See the difference? Your brain, the master problem solver, isn't getting bogged down in micromanaging individual muscles. It simply organizes the entire system, your feet, your legs, your core, your back, to accomplish the external goal. The movement becomes more natural, more powerful, and ultimately safer, because it mirrors how we actually move in real life. You don't think about which muscles to fire when you stand up from the dinner table. You just stand up. An external focus trains your body to perform the task as a whole, integrated unit. For older adults, especially those who fear injury, this can be revolutionary. It takes the pressure off doing it right and puts the focus on simply accomplishing a clear external task. A great way to start is with a simple chair squat. Stand in front of a sturdy dining chair, with an external focus of sitting back under control. Lower yourself until you gently touch the chair, and then immediately focus on pushing the floor away to stand back up. You're building incredible functional strength in a safe, controlled way. The idea that we can learn new skills and build new strength well into our 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s might seem optimistic to some. We often operate under the assumption that the brain is set in stone after a certain age. But one of the most hopeful and empowering discoveries in all of neuroscience is that this is simply not true. This brings us to the incredible power of neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's built-in ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. It's how we learn anything new, whether it's a language, an instrument, or a new physical skill. Every time you challenge your brain and body in a new way, you are physically remodeling your brain's circuitry. The pathways that you use get stronger, faster, and more efficient, like turning a rarely used footpath into a paved highway. The pathways you don't use grow weaker. This is the use it or lose it principle, applied directly to your brain's hardware. For a long time, it was thought that this ability faded dramatically with age. But we now know that while the process might be a little different than in childhood, the brain's capacity for positive change remains immense. Challenging exercise, particularly exercise that combines physical effort with skill and focus, is one of the most powerful drivers of positive neuroplasticity in adults. When you practice that single leg stand, you're not just strengthening your ankle. You are literally strengthening the balance centers in your brain. When you learn to squat with an external focus, you are forging more efficient motor pathways from your cortex to your muscles. And the potential for improvement is truly astounding, no matter your starting point. There's one study that I always come back to because it so perfectly illustrates this potential. It was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, and it's a landmark in geriatric research. Researchers at the Hebrew Rehabilitation Center for Aged, a Harvard Medical School affiliate, took a group of frail, institutionalized nursing home residents. Their average age was 90 years old. Many used walkers, and some hadn't walked without assistance in years. They were put on a simple 8-week program of high-intensity resistance training, carefully supervised. Of course, the results were nothing short of breathtaking. On average, these men and women, in their 10th decade of life, increased their muscle strength by an incredible 113%. Their walking speed improved, their ability to climb stairs increased, and 2 participants were able to trade in their walkers for a cane. Let that sink in for a moment. At an average age of 90, this wasn't a magic pill. It was the direct result of applying a targeted physical stress that forced their neuromuscular system, their brains and their bodies to adapt. It proves beyond any doubt that age is not a barrier. Your body and your brain are waiting for the signal to get stronger. Your history does not have to be your destiny. What we've discussed so far, the neurological nature of muscle loss, the power of proprioception, and the brain's incredible ability to adapt, completely changes the conversation about aging, doesn't it? It shifts the focus from inevitable decline to active renewal. If this new perspective is resonating with you, if it's giving you a sense of hope and control, I would be so grateful if you took just a moment to tap that like button below. It's a small click for you, but it tells the YouTube algorithm that this is valuable information, and it helps more people just like you discover that this is not a battle they have to lose. Now, it would be a huge mistake to talk about rebuilding this intricate system without talking about the fuel it runs on. You can have the best training plan in the world, but if you're not giving your body the raw materials it needs to repair and rebuild, you'll be spinning your wheels. Nutrition is the essential support system for both your muscles and your brain. And when it comes to combating sarcopenia, one nutrient stands head and shoulders above the rest: protein. We often think of protein as just the building blocks for muscle tissue, which is absolutely true. When you perform resistance exercise, you create tiny micro-tears in your muscles. Protein provides the amino acids needed to repair those tears and build the muscle back stronger than before. But its role in this brain-body connection is even deeper. Amino acids from protein are also the precursors to neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers like dopamine and acetylcholine that carry signals between nerve cells and from nerves to muscles. So adequate protein is essential for maintaining that clear, crisp signal from the command center to the troops. As we get older, our bodies can become less efficient at processing protein, a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance. This means we often need more protein than our younger counterparts to get the same muscle-building effect. The general recommendation from many geriatric health organizations is to aim for a consistent intake of high-quality protein with every meal. Think lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, dairy, or for plant-based options, legumes, tofu, and quinoa. But it's not just about protein. Another key player, especially for neurological health, is vitamin D. Many people know it as the sunshine vitamin, crucial for bone health. But research, like a study featured in the journal Nutrients, has highlighted its critical role in both muscle function and brain health. Vitamin D receptors are found in muscle tissue and throughout the central nervous system. Low levels of vitamin D are consistently linked with reduced muscle strength, poor balance, and an increased risk of falls. It also plays a role in reducing the chronic, low-grade inflammation that is now understood to be a major contributor to both sarcopenia and neurodegenerative processes. Many older Americans are deficient in vitamin D as our skin becomes less efficient at producing it from sunlight, and we may spend more time indoors. Getting your levels checked by your doctor is a very wise step. If they are low, supplementation is often a simple and effective solution. Pairing a targeted, brain-focused exercise program with a diet rich in protein and sufficient in vitamin D creates a powerful synergy, giving your body everything it needs to rebuild from the inside out. We have now covered the science, the exercises, and the nutrition. We have a complete blueprint for success. But I know, for many of you listening, there's one final, very large hurdle. It's the voice in the back of your head that says, "But what if I get hurt? What if I fall?" It all sounds good, but I'm afraid to even start. I want to speak to that fear directly, because it is real, it is valid, and it is perhaps the single biggest barrier that keeps people from reclaiming their strength. You may have seen what happened to a parent or a friend after a fall, and the fear of losing your own independence is powerful. It makes you cautious, and that caution comes from a place of wisdom. But we must not let caution turn into paralysis. The paradox is that the very thing we fear, frailty and falls, is made more likely by the inactivity that our fear encourages. So the goal is not to be fearless, but to be brave, and bravery means taking action in a smart, safe, and calculated way. Here is your practical, three-step plan for starting safely and building confidence. First, start with your own body. You do not need to go to a gym or lift heavy weights to begin. The chair squat we discussed is a perfect example. You can also do wall push-ups, standing against a wall and pushing yourself away to build upper body strength. You can do the single leg stand while holding firmly onto a kitchen counter. Second, focus on perfection of movement, not on the amount of weight or the number of repetitions. It is far better to do 5 perfect, controlled chair squats than it is to do 20 sloppy ones. Move slowly. Feel the movement. Use that external focus we talked about. Quality over quantity is your mantra. And third, listen to your body and respect its signals. The old no pain, no gain mantra is dangerous and wrong for most people, especially when starting out. Muscle soreness a day or two after a workout is normal. Sharp, stabbing, or joint pain is not. That is a signal to stop, assess, and perhaps modify the exercise or consult with a professional. Start slowly, perhaps with just 10 to 15 minutes of movement every other day, and gradually increase as you feel your strength and confidence grow. Remember that study of the 90-year-olds? They started slow and were carefully supervised. The journey to regaining decades of functional strength is a marathon, not a sprint. The most important workout is the one you can do safely and consistently, week after week. So today, we've journeyed deep into the true story of age-related weakness, and I hope you've come away with a profound sense of optimism and empowerment. We've taken a complete look at how to reverse the effects of decades of muscle loss. We established that the problem isn't just in the muscle, it's a communication issue that starts in the brain. That's your first win. You now understand the real root cause. We'll introduce the concept of proprioceptive training, like the single leg stand, to sharpen your body's internal GPS and build a rock-solid foundation of balance. That's your second win. You have a new tool to directly combat the risk of falls. We learned the difference between an internal and an external focus, and how focusing on the task, like pushing the floor away, builds powerful, real-world strength more effectively. That's your third win. You have a smarter way to train. We saw undeniable proof through the power of neuroplasticity and that incredible study on 90-year-olds that your brain and body are ready and willing to adapt and get stronger at any age. That is your most important win. It erases the idea that it's too late. You have the knowledge. You have the tools. You have the roadmap. The only remaining step is the first one. It can be as simple as trying a few chair squats while you wait for your coffee to brew tomorrow morning, or holding on to the counter and practicing your balance for 30 seconds. Every small act of movement is a vote for a stronger, more capable, and more independent future. You are the architect of your own aging process. Now, I would love to hear from you. Of all the things we discussed today, the neurological connection, the balance training, the external focus, the nutrition, which one was the biggest aha moment for you? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments section below. Reading your experiences and insights is not only encouraging for me, but it creates a wonderful community for everyone watching. And if you found this deep dive into the science of healthy aging to be valuable, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that little notification bell. We have so much more to explore together on this journey. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Be well, stay strong, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.